Welcome back to Lower Keys Living, everybody. Hope you are as excited as I am for Lobster Mini season, just a few days away. I'm going to go through a couple of checklists, items that I have that I keep on my boats or paddle boards when I'm out lobstering, just to refresh, make sure you are all good to go. Before I start on the lobstering gear, make sure your boats have all the Coast Guard mandatory items, life jackets, fire extinguishers, noisemakers, flares, anything that you're required to have on your boat, make sure you've got it. Fishing, game, FWC, Coast Guard, they really have a presence down here during lobster season, so make sure you're prepared so you can get on the water right on schedule. Start your lobster season off great. As far as lobstering, the mandatory things you need, one, you have to have your saltwater license with your lobster permit. I keep mine on the Fish and Hunt app on my telephone from FWC, keeps it easy. I also keep printed copies all the time on my both boats and in the bucket that I use for my paddleboard. It just makes sure that I've got those with me all the time, but having it on that app gives it really easy to access. Next thing everybody has to have is a dive flag, whether you're kayaking, paddleboarding, or on your powerboat. No matter what, if you're in the water, you need to have a dive flag out. I like these that come on the rod with the foam. These fit great in the rocket launchers, keeps them up high. Got to be at the highest point on your boat, visible from 360 degrees around, so make sure you got a good dive flag. These also fit great in the bucket that I keep on the paddleboard for keeping lobster in. And I'll go through that in a second. The other mandatory item, everybody that is lobstering must have a measurer in the water with them. You cannot take your lobster out of the water to measure them. You can't take them back to the boat, hand them to somebody on the boat to measure them. Have to measure your lobster in the water, and everybody that is lobstering needs to have one of these with them. As far as the non-mandatory items, but things you're going to want for your gear, a good quality net. I like them with a nice deep net, gets those lobster back in there, easy to keep them in there. So a good quality net is great. And then either a tickle stick or a snare. I've talked in the past what I use these for. 90% of the time I'm using the tickle stick to get lobsters out. I use these almost exclusively, actually I only use these when I'm lobstering around mangrove trees, thick mangroves. Hard to get a net and a tickle stick in there and not let the lobsters shoot out between. You can't scoot a net around in those mangrove roots, so I use the snare whenever I'm lobstering around the mangroves. A lot of people use those snares no matter where they're going. I find the tickle stick and net's easier for me in a lot of places, just personal preference. The other thing you're going to want is a good quality mask. This particular one I have has my GoPro mount on it, so I can film underwater. I'm going to try and get you footage of my lobstering first thing on mini season morning for you. And then I always use an anti-fog in my mask. I like this Frog Spit brand, not for any particular reason other than it goes on the night before. It just puts a clear film on it, dries clear, and it lasts a few weeks at a time. I also use this in all of my underwater film housing equipment. Keeps my film housing from fogging up underwater. Anytime I'm in the salt water, I come out, I usually use the freshwater rinse on the boat to rinse cameras off, and just that change in water temperature to what's inside that camera housing can cause fogging. This prevents that, so good stuff. That or just a little bottle of cheap shampoo to rub on your mask, rinse it out. Keeps your mask from fogging up, but it'll make your day a whole lot better. The other thing, you're going to need a good pair of gloves for handling your lobsters in the water. These are spiny lobsters, and they are called spiny lobsters for good reason. So make sure you got a good set of gloves for everybody that's in the water lobstering. Last thing is, again, I keep this on the paddleboard. On the boats, I use the live wells. You have to keep your lobsters whole until you get back to shore. You can't clean your lobsters, take the carapace or the body off before you are back at shore. I always keep my lobsters alive until I am back at shore, keeps them as fresh as possible. The other thing is, please don't throw your lobster carcasses in the canals. One, it is illegal to do. Two, they rot, they decompose quickly, and they make a mess out of the canals. And just imagine how many thousands of lobsters are caught down here during mini season, it just destroys the canals. Better thing to do, I always freeze those lobster bodies. I'll put them in Ziploc bags, freeze them hard, then I mash them up with a hammer, then put them in a new Ziploc bag with some water, and then I use those as chum when I'm out chumming for fish. Those lobster pieces sink nicely, gives me a nice three-dimensional chum slick in along with my regular chum. So put those lobster carcass to use, just don't chuck those in the water. Also, just a quick reminder, this coming week with mini season, weather is looking great for Wednesday, almost no wind, should be a perfect day out there for lobstering. Right now, Thursday, I know we're a few days out, but looking to be pretty windy, so check windfinder.com, look at the direction, figure out where you want to go to stay protected from the wind out on the water and be safe. As far as Wednesday goes, more than likely you're going to find me out on Washerwoman Shoals. I've got a couple of patch reefs that I've scoped out. So if you're out in that area, you see the Big Angler 2600, swing on by, happy to say hi. But my plan is to get out there early in the morning, get my limit, film that so I can share that with you. And hopefully everybody has a great, successful lobster mini season, and we will see you on the water and see you next week. Good luck.